I think life is about having fun, and that is a big important part that I missed being in the industry, being in the limelight, because you want to be so perfect, so you work so hard and you overwork yourself on trying to be this like perfect person, to where, girl, that is not how it should be. You should just live your life and be the best that you could be and own it every single day.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to New Money, where we talk to movers and shakers about how they made it. I'm your host, Rosemarie Miller, here with musician, entrepreneur, and humanitarian, Coi Leray. Coi, thank you so much for joining us on New Money.
Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Coi,
this is cool.
You made it, girl. You made it. All right, you were Billboard's #1 emerging artist of 2023.
Yes.
You have so much success. Did you ever think this would be your reality?
I did. I definitely knew I was going to be major. I always manifested that. I felt like I had something so special about me, even when I was in school. Growing up, being the only girl, I always felt like, I don't know, it was something so special about me and talented. I didn't know when it would come, but I do know God's time is always on time. So I am just very blessed and grateful, for sure. Yeah.
And I know your song, No More Parties. I listened to it a lot, actually.
Yeah.
When I had my vision, they couldn't see. Who is they?
I feel like it was at one point in my career, it was me against the world, right? Yeah. It got a little, I spent a lot of time on the internet, I would say, and reading comments and stuff like that, to where it did put me in a place where I'm just like, all right, only want people around that's going to make me better at this point. You know what I mean? And I was going through actually a big tough time, even financially. Yeah. I always built a studio in my house. Every time I always invested into my career, whether if it was buying equipment, laptops, computers, laptops, microphones, all different kind, U87s, trying different ones, from just like the small ones, the big ones, speakers, Yamahas. And then, I had to realize, like, okay, it's me against the world. I signed this major deal for $2.3 million, and I've spent so much money that I'm just left with this studio that I built inside my house, thankfully. And that's where I made No More Parties. And I put all my like soul and my like everything I went through at the time into that song. And that was the beginning of, I feel like, Coi Leray, my intro to the world. Yeah.
It sounds hard, but it sounds a little easy. You're like, I signed this deal for $2.3 million. We're not all just getting deals for $2.3 million.
No.
How did you get to that point?
I always been very passionate in music. Yeah. I was always in the studio, consistently dropping. I had amazing people around, and we were just creating nonstop, always a creator. And luckily, when I went to the studio, I made this first song called GAN. And that's what kind of got me buzzing around Jersey, I would say. And then as I stayed consistent, I did my song Huddy. And then Huddy is what got the labels and created a bidding war. So I met with like 12 different labels at this time. It was going crazy. My team was like also very small. And, didn't have PR, didn't have marketing, didn't have like none of the resources I had today. And it was crazy, because when I actually got my deal, how it happened, I was so tired of courting with 12 people, and I was so tired. I didn't know what to do. And I was overwhelmed, because I felt like I didn't want to say, I had to tell people no. And I built relationships along that way. So luckily, I ended up signing with withRepublic for $2.3 million, and it was major. It was one of the biggest deals of 2019. And I took my money, and like I said, I invested in everything. I moved to LA, got camera equipment. I got, I built my studio, like literally built a booth, had somebody come and get wood, build a booth, paint it.
And how old were you at this time?
I was 21, so 2009. So I'll be 27 this year, May 11th. Taurus gang, shout out to my Tauruses.
Okay.
But yeah, so 2019, I was
So-
like 21.
21 years old. Where did you get the knowledge to learn, like, okay, what am I going to do with all this money? You're saying you reinvested it in your career.
Right.
Who told you to do that?
So I've been on my own since I was like 16. I dropped out of high school in 10th grade due to financial issues with being at home. You know, I needed to, unfortunately, I had to work. And in order for me to work, I couldn't fulfill the hours in school and work at the same time. Work was from like 8 to, 7, 9 to 7 or whatever. And school would be from 8 to 3. So I asked my mom to sign me out. And I never was like a failure in school. I was always good in school, but also too, I was so independent and self-efficient that I just felt like, I needed to go make money and find myself out there so I could take care of myself and, help my family. So I dropped out. I worked at all different kinds of jobs, from Palermo's Bakery, A&P Supermarket. I was a cashier. I worked at a daycare. I changed so many diapers. That's when I learned my love for kids. And like, I developed probably some patience at that time because I was so young. And these kids were babies, all different ages, 1-year-old babies. And it was a lot, but I had to learn. And then
But
a pizzeria.
Yeah.
And then along the way, I landed my first sales job. And that was where I learned a lot of my, I feel like, entrepreneur and just marketing skills there. I was selling Google listings to business owners, cold calling. And it would be like a whole package of Yahoo, Bing, Google, Better Business Bureau, Chambers of Commerce. Like, it was just everything to where we can get all your information consistent, updated, hours of operations, a photo, and really make these people have like, because this is when I would say, 90% of the world is using iPhones. This is before TikTok and everything else. So as I knew technology, and from there, I feel like, that's how I got my own house, paid my own bills, got my own car, just really developed, and then landed this one time into the studio. And I said, you know what? This is fun. Like, this is really, really fun. And I'm going to go with this.
But Coi, you were 16 years old. Why did you put all of that pressure on you that, I have to make it, I have to be the one that helps my family?
So there was a point where I feel like I had to experience, I had a great experience, and I got a taste of something that it's like when you couldn't taste that anymore or feel that anymore or live that anymore, and you knew it was possible, I went and chased that. What I mean? I went and chased that dream, that life of being able to provide and have, I want a big house, I want a nice fridge, I want like, I just got a water dispenser for the first time in my life, and I'm just like, with the water jugs. I used to see people come into the grocery store with the water jugs. I'm like, okay, I always wanted my own Dixie cup, hot water, cold water, and every day when I go downstairs, I'm like, God, I am like, that's why I know I made it, because I went and have me like my own water dispenser. So I and then also too, I was surrounded by a lot of great people growing up. My brothers were hustlers, hustlers. My mom's a hustler. And I also knew that, my brother would tell me too, like, yo, make sure you have your credit right. Gonna need your credit right. I'm like, I don't even understand what that means being 16, but I knew I had to figure it out. And I wanted to, so I did what I needed. And working, I had to pay taxes, so I would go and sit down with the tax lady, and she's speaking a language that I can't understand. So I realized as I get older, I'm gonna get older, I have to figure out how to have these conversations and learn. So I would Google everything, and just built it.
So you didn't let age hold you back at all?
Oh yeah, no. I don't think age means anything. You can be super successful at the age of like, I feel like 10, 9 if you want it. Yeah.
Super successful. So you were still young at this time where your career is budding, you're starting to make it, you're having to tell people much older than you know. How did that feel being young? You're in charge of all these people who are much older than you. How did that feel?
Even now, I'm 26, I have a staff of 15 people. I felt at one point, you know, I was a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Because I want people to be happy. I want people to be happy with me, with, you know, themselves and life. But I always also was open to learn. So having older people around, whether if they were that mentor or someone who was making mistakes, I still took whatever I could to just put it into myself and be the best that I could be. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you know, but age means nothing for sure.
And no, I understand that, especially as women of color, we're taught that like we kind of have to make others feel comfortable in our presence.
Yes.
I get it.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
I get it.
It's serious.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning, you know, also growing up with brothers and all boys. Being a young Black woman in this industry is like really tough for me because I don't have older sisters, or, you know, I got my mom.
Yeah.
But you know, it's tough. You know, you got to learn how to really, you don't want to come off as an angry, mad Black woman either in this world. You know, you want to carry yourself with grace. You want to be able to read the room. You want to be able to understand. So sometimes being able to do that, I know I have to take a step back. You know, I might have to do a little bit more researching, you know, scheduling my night routines and just really, and that's what it's about now, even in this new era. It's just womanhood, like me developing into this new young woman today, learning life, even outside of the industry. While being famous at the same time.
That's my next question. I get that. You're becoming a young woman with all these eyes on you. What is that like?
It's so different because I'm in the limelight. Yeah. So every single thing I do, you know, it did create this like anxiety thing and like paranoia thing at one point in my life. But like I said, God's time is always on time, and I don't fear anything but God. So I know that I am blessed for this life. And it was at one point, younger me would be like, oh my God, I can't go. I'm famous. I gotta go. If I go out, people are gonna recognize. I have to be dressed to go to the supermarket. To where now I'm learning, like, really, you are a star. You know what you do. You know what you bring to the table. If you get up and decide to go to the grocery store and you got your hair all messed up, whatever, if someone is taking, whatever it is, own that. Live in that moment. Like, accept that this is your new life, girl, and figure out how you can have fun with it. Like, now my new thing is, okay, instead of me complaining about it, let me make the best out of the situation. So if it was a situation where I do look crazy, let me take 2 oranges and be like, you know what I mean? Or if I'm like, let me start, like, I don't care, like, make it fun, you know? Yeah. I think life is about having fun, and that is a big important part that I missed being in the industry, being in the limelight, because you want to be so perfect, so you work so hard and you overwork yourself on trying to be this like perfect person, to where, girl, that is not how it should be. You should just live your life and be the best that you could be and own it every single day.
Do you think that's common in the industry you're in?
No, I don't. I don't think it's common. I think that, you know, it's not common at all.
It's not common. So do you see yourself as like, okay, you're really walking to the beat of your own drum. You're not conforming to who the world says you should be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm moving to my own drum. Like, I'm doing what I want, and it's my life and it's my world, and you're just living in it, you know? I feel like I move with grace, positivity. I think that's important. Like, what I also want and what I know, I'm someone who knows what I want in life, period. And I say that because it's so important. Because when you're dealing with someone, whether if it's an artist, a creator, whatever it is, it's very special when you got that person who's like knows what they want, how they want it, and all you have to do is just give them, you know what I mean, the little feed arms to just make the gears go. A little bit of oil.
Yeah.
We all call it oil to make the gears go, because everything's already put in place.
You know, I think about that when it comes to dating. Ooh. I want my man to know what he wants.
Oh my gosh. I actually started dating, and I thought dating older guys would be like, you know, different, and they would kind of like know what they want. But like, I went on a date with someone that was like older, and I was just like, oh my God, they outside. Everybody's outside.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Mm-hmm.
the dating life is different.
Girl, don't get me started. That'll be a whole different interview. That'll be a whole different thing. Okay, well, Coi, let's talk about some money. Okay, this is new money.
Yes.
You started off with rather humble beginnings, and now you're here. What lessons did you learn along the way that you think others should know?
Along the way, I learned that it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to live in them and learn from them, and it's okay to take a break. I think that's something that I never learned to do because I was so I always look at it like, if I'm making this much or if I'm spending this much, I need to be making this much every month. So my drive was so insane. Even just like, it always comes down to the music, even being in the studio consistently, coming up with ideas, music video treatments. I make my own treatments. I'll sit there and edit my own videos. I edit all my own content. Like I'm a beast, and I love technology as well. So yeah.
What are your thoughts on flex culture?
What's flex culture?
Flexing. For
like
the gram.
flexing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I like a little flex. I'm not gonna lie. Only because I feel like, there is other ways we can flex though, which is something that I think is dope. For example, me going to St. Bart's and just doing a swipe of me in the beach, in the pools with, chrome hearts. Like, I think that's a flex. Only because I got young women who want to travel and look up to me, and there's so many other things in this world that you can be doing outside of the BS, which is traveling and eating good food and, learning new things. I just started trying yoga. I think yoga is amazing. Like, I first thought yoga was just all about stretching until I got a session in St. Bart's with this woman who changed my life. Yeah. And it is really all in the mental. And now I learned how to take a break. Flexing is not even in my vocabulary. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to save, stack, and secure. Because flexing should be organic. You should just live your life, capture every moment. I don't think you need to kind of prove a point. But I'm not gonna lie, I was that young girl. Like, when I'm getting older, but I love a money spread like that. That feels good. Like holding a bunch of cash in your hand and just spreading the
cash
money.
That you made at that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's you grow out of it.
Yeah, and I see that because I've watched a lot of your interviews before this interview. You're very different.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of internal growth. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I went through like a big depression stage almost 1.5 years ago. I fractured my patella, and I still am managing to do what I got to do. Yeah. And just went through some stuff in my personal life and a lot of stuff behind the scenes, a lot of transitions and, working, different people, whether it's people here today and then not here next week. It's just a lot that I had to really figure out, like, okay, Coi. And then at the same time, while so many tragic things were happening, so many blessings were happening at the same time. You'll wake up and you'll hear an offer and you'll get this amount and you're just like, yo. So I'll just have to remind myself, like, okay, the only problem and the only thing in my way that can stop me is me. Because I have great intentions, and I know that at the end of the day, if I just push myself to focus on becoming a better me, whether if it's within my tone, my delivery, my attitude, my routine of waking up in the morning, waking up earlier, going to church every Sunday, writing in my journal. That's how I got to this place now. And I'm blessed to also have such amazing people in my life to keep me level-headed, to where I'll call them and be like, yo, or if I'm in a place and they hear me say something or do something, they'll check me. They'll check me in a way like, Coi, I think you should have approached it in this way, or I think you could have handled it like this. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. And I should have handled it like this. And I felt like every time I've done that, God showed me, whether if it was a week later, 2 weeks later, something just blew, like a whole nother blessing just popped up. I said, okay, yeah, you're on the right track. Stay focused.
I want you to know your inner beauty is beaming.
Thank you.
It is. Outer beauty, you already know.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And you speak about God. You've been speaking about God since the top of this interview, and I love that.
Yeah.
What's your relationship with him?
I'm very spiritual. You know, I think spirituality is very important. Yeah. And once I tapped into it so deep is when it's like it's like someone that you can actually talk to. And that probably understands you, that does understand you more than anybody in this world. Mm-hmm. Not even, like, forget the comments, everything else. When you're just alone, which is you and him, the man above, or whatever it is, your choice of spirituality, because there's so many different ways to, you know, tap into that. So whether if it's crystals or sage or, you know, the moon or the ocean, when you're alone and you're like, you're actually learning so much about yourself. You start hearing him talk back. You start, it's just like, yo, okay, this makes sense. And I advise everyone to spend some alone time tapping with your spirituality. It will change your life.
Your whole life. A peace that surpasses all understanding. I know this is Forbes, so let's start acting like it's Forbes again. Okay. Coi, what is the smartest and the dumbest purchase you've made so far?
Okay, so on the clothes, in 2020 is when I spent so much money on clothes. I spent so much money on clothes and travel, and not knowing like how to do that. For example, like getting a travel agency that can teach you all the perks of traveling and points and credit cards and different things is so much better than you just booking flights and traveling, booking hotels, spending, buying jewelry, spending. I think that was like that. I'm over those days. Mm-hmm. Even my rapper chains and jewelry, like I have the most iconic pieces, my chain and my watch. I think I'm like so good with that. I like dainty stuff. I like investment pieces. Yeah, that's, you know. Now, the smartest thing I ever bought was my mom's house. Yes, and then also a patent for... so I invented a baby hair brush when I signed my deal. Like, that was the first thing I always came in, because I had my braids. I always wore my braids, and my baby hairs were just my signature. Still to this day, even with my little curtains, like, it's giving baby hair brush vibes. So when I patented that, and I paid I paid $15,000, like almost $20,000 out of my money. This is big money to be spending at such 21. You don't know. I don't know how to do, but I'm just like, all right, I know that we need a patent and secure this. And ever since I've done that, like now it's been a process, not gonna lie. And then even with COVID and everything, it's been a process. But we had got my first sample finally on its way in development, because we also had to go through. So that was the smartest thing, because that process taught me so much about product development and, you know, the communication back and forth with, you know, the person who has to make it, even it's just with the patent lawyer and the possible things that you can do with products that you can't do, and all the different options of just building on top of that. So that prepared me to now working with, you know, like not a financial planner, but someone who kind of does startups in a way, right? You pay them like $8,000 to $13,000, $15,000 a month to go ahead and start your business from, you know. Now I feel like I started that with the patent, so it's easy to go in now with that direction and those people to be like, okay, let's start this business. I know what I'm doing, whether if it's the website, the trademarking, and, you know, just everything behind that. I learned that on my own, and I don't know everything. Yeah. But I learned a lot. So best purchase of my life, for sure.
You are a student of life.
Yeah.
So you're putting a lot of work into your business brand. Are you leaning more into that now than your personal brand? Is it about 50-50?
It's 50-50. So I've been in the studio with Mike Will and some amazing producers, Pharrell, and just been making some amazing music. I'm doing my first Coachella this year, going on tour, my first tour this year. So I do have to always be an artist and invest into that side of my career as well. For example, like my tour or a show, what I get paid, I put the full amount in, and I will make sure that I try to capitalize off my opportunities as much as I can. I know that even with me still in the development of my career, investing into my shows right now is important instead of focusing on getting the money, getting paid for my shows. Like, oh, I need this amount. Yeah, I need this amount to give you this amazing show, right? And I'm going to put all of that in my all for that. Yeah.
Well, Coi, leave us with 3 pieces of advice for someone pursuing their dreams in their teens, early 20s.
3 pieces of advice. The first one is, do not be afraid to lose people along your journey. It will happen. I am not wishing that it does, but I will tell you that it will happen because people come and go. And in this business of money and in the entertainment business, if you want to get into the entertainment business, it's definitely something you have to be aware of and understand. Do not be afraid to lose people. Don't let it burden you. And second one is survivor's remorse. You will get big, you will grow, you will get so much money, and then there will be people that will probably kind of make you feel like you haven't done enough when you should look in the mirror and know you've done more than enough. Don't let other people's mistakes and what their traumas and what they go through burden you and distract you from what you got going on. Pray, try to do what you can, as long as it's not taken away from your mental. I think that's very, very important. And lastly, have fun. If you're not going to have fun, you're going to like shrivel up and be like, not cute. The more you have fun, the cuter you are. I swear, the more you have fun and smile and live your life, the sexier you are, the finer you are, the confident you are, and the more happier and at peace you will be.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. Thank you so much for joining me today, Coi.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.